So you ready to learn the secret to influence? How you can get just about anybody to do just about anything? You up for that? I want you folks to have some fun with me for a second. I'm gonna come down and chat with you. Throw some adjectives at me that would describe a stereotypical salesperson. Aggressive, stereotypical, remember? Slimy, did I hear? Ooh, what else you got for me? See, I'm pretty sure that every change that you're looking for in your life, every change that you're looking for in your business is nothing more than an ask away. That's all it is. People think no is the enemy of yes in decision making. It isn't. Indecision is the enemy. If you do not ask, you do not receive, you do not know. How many times have you stepped away from a moment that matters and thought, who on earth was that idiot? With the person you were speaking about being oneself. It's an ask away. It's the right ask to the right person in the right time, in the right way, will create the change that you're looking for. Being a salesperson is not a bad thing. The perception of being a salesperson is what is the bad thing. What that means is if anybody ever says to you or any of your people, my goodness, you're a great salesperson, I hate to break it to you. It's never a compliment. How would that make you feel in here? Because we need tension in a conversation. And the most important lesson I came to share with all of you today is, Ladies and gents, good morning. Coming to events like this is a ton of fun, and I was thinking this morning about you all and seeing you all interact and knowing what's ahead of you in the agenda. And it made me think about that old saying that knowledge is power. You heard that old saying before, yes or no? Is it true, yes or no? See, in my experience, that statement is complete and utter nonsense. It's dribble. I'll explain for why. Show of hands in this room, who knows of something they should be doing or could be doing that would make them more successful in their role? And is still not doing it. See, it cannot be the knowledge that leads to the power. It can only be the implementation of said knowledge that leads to power. Chris asked you to be present. I too will ask you to be where your head is, be where your feet are at, be where your heart is at, be in this very given moment. But I know to get more from this given moment, how you show up for it matters more than anything else. It's how you embrace yourself in this environment. For the next 75 minutes or so, I'm going to throw information at you that's like drinking water from a fire hose. My expectation is that you spill somewhere near most of it. What I'd love you to do is to catch the drops. I see some of you poised and ready to take notes. That's great. I'd much rather that you took notice. In fact, I'd go as far as saying, please, please, pretty please, do not write a single thing down in our time together. Nothing, nada. Got it? Not unless you're going to do something with it, use it, put it into practice, have it make a difference in your life, your world, your business. Sound fair, yes or yes? I figured you picked that one. See, you've gone through huge amounts of change in this organization. You're in the business of helping other people navigate change. You're responsible for helping your teams navigate change. And a question I have for you right now is, do people like change, yes or no? Let's test it for a second, folks. Do me a favor and fold your arms. No, not that way. Try it like the other way. Oh, it's freaking weird, right? Like you're hugged by a stranger. You liked it though, right? You liked that? It's like, how long have you been away? That is one of the simplest of changes I can ask you to make. Can we accept this, that change at best is uncomfortable? Change at best is uncomfortable. And given that we're in the business of navigating change, the goal isn't necessarily to wish it was easier. It's learn how to do so and to make it better. But one of the changes that's never going to happen in business, never going to happen in an industry like this is how we're measured. And one of the things that we're measured for in business is the success of our sales, the success of our results. Now, who in this room as a child said, when I grow up, what I'd love to be is a salesperson? I figured as much. See, I've worked with millions of sales teams around the world, and I've learned that almost everybody is selling something. Sometimes it's a product or service, but more often than not, it's an idea, an outcome, a change in behavior. I want you folks to have some fun with me for a second. I'm going to come down and chat with you. Throw some adjectives at me that would describe a stereotypical salesperson. What have you got for me? Aggressive. Stereotypical, remember? Slimy, did I hear? Ooh. What else you got for me? Say again? Persuasive. Stereotypical salesperson. Be as mean as we like. Highly intelligent, not always a good thing. Outgoing, tenacious. Say again? Loud, right? Loud, like annoying loud. See the bulk of those words, if somebody used those words to describe you, somebody saw that in you when they met you for the very first time, how would that make you feel in here? Not so good, right? Got a straight up 3-letter word over here. Bad, not good. What if by alternative, though, I ask you not to describe a stereotypical salesperson? What if by alternative, I ask you to describe a professional salesperson? How do the adjectives now change? Consultative. Empathetic, great listener. Organized. Influential. Smooth, caring. Personalized. See this sequence of words, if somebody saw that in you when they met you for the first time, somebody used those words to describe you, how are you feeling right now? I see the nods on a few of you, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good with that. I want you to catch 2 tiny, massive lessons in that example, 2. The first is this. Being a salesperson is not a bad thing. The perception of being a salesperson is what is the bad thing. What that means is if anybody ever says to you or any of your people, my goodness, you're a great salesperson, I hate to break it to you. It's never a compliment. It almost always means stop it now, stop it, I don't like it, please. We're not looking for applause for our sales skills. As leaders, we're selling ideas all the time. But what we're not chasing is applause for our persuasiveness. What we're actually chasing for a job well done today, gratitude. People saying thank you for helping them see something they haven't yet seen. So if you thought I could teach you to be more pushy, more obnoxious, more slick, louder, better at telling lies, wrong room. But if you want to understand some skills that can allow you to influence and persuade others to see the world differently so they do things that are better for you and for them and they say thank you for it, that's exactly what we're here for. But what I did say there is there are 2 tiny, massive lessons in that example, 2. And I think the second is perhaps a touch more profound. See, in that example, I changed one word, correct? I changed this from stereotypical to professional. And when I changed one word, you, my friends, changed all the words. Interesting. You saw a completely different image in your mind's eye with stereotypical versus professional, correct? Therefore, could it be possible in your everyday interactions, other people don't always see what you're saying? Does it matter what you said? Does it even matter that you meant something when you said it? Or does it more matter what they saw as a result of what you said and meant up here in their mind's eye? See, that's what we're in the business of influencing, the images that appear in other people's minds that go on to be able to help shape the beliefs that they have. That's a big idea, my friends, and we're going to learn how to be able to do so. But before we do so, answer me this. Salespeople, are they born or made, born or made, born or made? What do we think there? Shout out for me, folks. Let me try this another way. What does a 3-year-old do when they want something? Before that. The first thing they do is they ask, right? Failing that, what do? They ask again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. What do they do failing that? Whatever it takes. Who in this room has a 3-year-old or was a 3-year-old? Finish this sentence for me. If you do not ask, you don't get, you do not receive, you do not know. See, I'm pretty sure that every change that you're looking for in your life, every change that you're looking for in your business is nothing more than an ask away. That's all it is. It's an ask away. It's the right ask to the right person in the right time, in the right way, will create the change that you're looking for. Which brings me probably to the most important lesson I came to share with all of you here today. And the most important lesson I came to share with all of you today is, hang on. Oh yeah, that's it. When is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say? It's right in the very moment you're saying it, right? That is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say. Yet how many times have you walked away from an important conversation and thought shoulda, woulda, coulda? How many times have you stepped away from a moment that matters and thought, who on earth was that idiot? With the person you were speaking about being oneself. It is almost impossible to debrief a conversation and change it. Let me repeat, it is almost impossible to debrief a conversation and change it. But what you can do is you could pre-brief that exact same conversation, chances are you could change it. You're going to learn in our time together here today that I'm a touch pedantic about word choices. So much so that I did write this tiny little book about them. It's a book I'm insanely proud of for a gazillion reasons, but one big one is it is a genuine bestseller. We've now sold nearly 3 million copies, translated to 29 different languages around the world. And see this tiny little book, it outsold 50 Shades of Grey. And Harry Potter, legit, for one whole day. You celebrate your wins, I'm taking mine, right? Like that's how we're going to roll here. But why do I tell you it's a best-selling book? It's because I learned that people are good at buying books. I repeat, they're good at buying books. What are they not so good at doing? Reading and then take action on what lives inside. So I figured if I could write a tiny book and put the font in it like this big and make this much white space around it and allow people to get cover to cover in about an hour, chances are people might read the book. Chances are people might learn something. Chances are people might put it into practice and do something. And they do, because every day I know they do, because a stranger writes to me to tell me it's true. It's a book full of what I call my magic words. What magic words are words that talk straight towards the subconscious brain. Subconscious brain is powerful in the decision-making process. Why? Because it has a yes output and a no output. There is no maybe in the subconscious brain. People think no is the enemy of yes in decision-making. It isn't. Indecision is the enemy. Think back over your last 12 months. How many moments almost, possibly, potentially, maybe, perhaps happened the way you would have liked them to? What difference would it make if you could talk to the part of somebody else's brain that would make them fundamentally more decisive? See, if they're quicker to decide, they're quicker to take action. If they're quicker to take action, then you can amplify transaction. It is that easy and it's that hard. Still confused about subconscious brain? I'll give some examples of where it served you. Does anybody here remember like a familiar car ride where you remember getting into a vehicle in the morning and then you remember getting to the destination and you have no idea how you got here? That was the subconscious brain that took the drive. Like, don't worry, if anything unusual happened, conscious brain would grab the wheel, you'd be back in control in a nanosecond. Back in control in a nanosecond. See, subconscious brain is working for us all day, every day. It's like our human autopilot. Still confused about the subconscious brain? See it as nothing more than a little voice inside your head. That's all. A little voice inside your head. And if you're sat there right now thinking that you haven't got a little voice inside your head, well, that's the little voice, my friends, telling you haven't got a little voice. We all have one. Learning to speak to other people's is what would give you a fair advantage in any given conversational moment. Now, we learned and were reminded earlier on that if you do not ask, you do not get, right? You knew that. I'd take it one stage further and say that your success is in direct correlation to the quantity of quality asks that you make in your life. Your success is in direct correlation to the quantity of quality asks. So if we know that if you do not ask, you do not get, and we also know that your success is in direct correlation to the quantity of quality ask that you make, what is it that stops you and people like you from asking for the things that you want? What stops you from asking? Shout up for me, peeps. It's funny, I can ask that question in any language, anywhere around the world, and I get any one of those three answers. It is either fear, it is rejection, or it is fear of rejection. Any of those three things. Let's take those ideas one at a time and see if we can reframe some thinking. Firstly, the rejection piece. Show of hands, who here has been rejected by somebody they care about in like the last 7 days? I don't know what it was. You might have wanted Chinese food and they're like, no, thank you. It might have been that you said next vacation or trip, I'd love to go here. And they're like, what is wrong with you? It might have been you wanted to have fun in the bedroom and they're like, not tonight, honey. I don't know what it was. You had one idea. They had a different idea. You got rejected. And in our personal lives, no big deal. Correct? No big deal. Why is it that when we face rejection in our personal lives, it's no big deal, but when we face rejection in our professional lives, we take it personal? Weird, right? I think I know why. I think it's because in our personal lives, we're 100% sure they are not saying no to us. What they're actually saying no to is it. See, I know for sure if my wife is not into it tonight, no big deal. Why is it no big deal? Because I'm somewhere near certain that me and Chinese food, we will be together again. She just meant not tonight, right? Like that's what she meant, not tonight. There'll be another day. The same is true with the changes we're looking for in our people. The same is true with the changes that we're looking for in our customers. They're not saying no to you. They're saying no to it. And they're not even saying no to it. They're saying no to it right now. See, how many of you in this room have said yes to something in the last 3 months you wouldn't have dreamed of saying yes to 3 years ago? Why? Because circumstances are changing all the time. And we are in the business of changing circumstances. That's a good thing. So all that no means is not right now, thank you very much. But what about this fear thing? Is fear real, yes or no? What do we think? See, I've been seeing something for years. Corporate trainers have been doing this for decades. TikTokers have been doing it for minutes. And what they've been doing is taking the word fear and turning it into an acronym and trying to create some degree of a profound epiphany. And what they do is they take the word fear, and I've seen them put it up on a flip chart, and it's like an F and an E and an A and an R, and then they get real smart. They say, you know, all that fear really is? All that fear really is it's false evidence appearing real. Anybody else ever seen that? I've seen it like a gazillion times. And every time I see it, I look back at it and I think, dang, that's cute. Could you imagine genuinely being scared and somebody delivering that to you as advice and it being any way helpful? But you know what I see in this industry in times like now when faced with fear? I see something remarkably different. What I see in industries like this when faced with fear, by alternative, is I see F everything and run. How do we not do this? How do we go in the other direction? Why can't we go back to the way that it used to be? Can somebody else do it? If we're to reframe our thinking about fear and understand something else that is remarkably true, so simple once you see it, is who in this room is remarkably good at anything? Something, maybe, that once upon a time you were a teensy bit scared to do. If that is true, what else has to be true, just based on the math of it, is that fear is the fertilizer of growth. It has to be. If you're not scared, then you're not growing. Because what's the alternative? Complacency. So as leaders, I think we need to find ways of embracing the things that are challenging and that are hurtful and that are fearful and use it as fuel for growth, not fear for change. And I'm going to try and teach us some of the ways that we can do this. Because one of the challenges you have from writing a book that reaches as far as and wide as my little one does is how much you leave out. See, if a book is going to support 800 different industries across 29 different countries, it's going to have universal vanilla ice cream appeal towards it. And I think it was Mark Twain that first said, or certainly was most famous for saying so, that if I had more time, I'd have written a shorter letter. Brevity is challenging. So it means in environments like the one we're in today is I can maybe put some of the information back into the message that's left out of the book and share you information that's not included in the book to help you influence and persuade others in the moments that matter more freely. And I figured if I could give you just 3 critical ingredients that would allow you to influence and persuade others in more of the moments that matter more often, that alone would be a useful use of our time together. Would you agree? See, I've learned that all we need is 3 ingredients if we're going to influence and persuade better. And the first is an ingredient called curiosity. Behind curiosity is an ingredient called empathy. And behind empathy is an ingredient called courage. Now, these are all words you've heard before, yes? You're like, what's the big idea, Phil? What's new here? I get it. It's more about why those specific words and why in that very precise order. Doesn't matter whether you're leading somebody in your team, creating a change with an external stakeholder, getting a teenager to be able to finally tidy their bedroom. The same rules apply. Why do we always start a conversation from a position of curiosity? Well, let's think for a second, what is the alternative? The alternative is showing up to a conversation with certainty. Isn't it ironic that if you show up to a conversation with high levels of certainty, you create uncertainty? Ever found yourself in a conversation with somebody who knows so much and is so sure of themselves that the more sure they are of themselves, the more it rubs you up the wrong way? It's kind of ironic. By alternative, if you show up with curiosity, what you learn is you learn something about the other person first. And what you learn is you learn the other person's context. In every conversation you step into, you would like to insert your content, correct? But if you insert your content before you learn their context, then you just made a noisy situation noisier. By alternative, if we slow a conversation down and are curious enough to understand their context before we reach any conclusions, chances are we're going to be insanely more influential. I'm going to make this real for you with a tiny little story. Any parents in the room? See, as parents, we are exceptional of giving advice. Really good, particularly to our kids. World class. But sometimes the challenge is that we give world-class advice for entirely the wrong problem. And I'm going to share with you a slightly embarrassing moment in my life. Rewind back to about a year ago. I was back at my London home with my then 17-year-old daughter. And my 17-year-old daughter comes to me for advice, which is a proud daddy moment. At least that's what I thought she came to me for. And she comes to me for advice, and I get excited. And these were the words that left my mouth. The words that left my mouth were, honey, when I was in your shoes. And as the words left my mouth, I looked down at her feet and realized there's not been a day in my life that I've worn footwear that resembled that. I realized that I was the least qualified person in that moment to be able to offer any precise practical advice towards it. So I gave no advice. And by alternative, just became strategically curious for a short period of time, like around 27 minutes. And at the end of it, she said, I think I know what I want to do, Dad. And she chose something all by herself, no advice given. She got there all by herself and did a version of about the exact same thing that I would have advised her to do, but she got there all by herself. If we're to gain context before we earn content, here is a challenge to every leader in this room. Could you live an entire day of your life delivering approximately zero advice? None. I'll make this super practical. There's a lady in my team, I won't mention her name is Andrea. And what Andrea does often is she comes to me for advice. And she says, Phil, what do you think I should do in this scenario? And there's part of me that's like, I've got 1,000 things you should do. But you never should take a should, right? You never should take a should from somebody. So don't take a should, and I reframe it back as a question. I say, you asking what you could do, or are you asking what I would do if I was in your shoes? She said, I don't know. I say, well, what could you do? And she says, I could do this, or I could do this. I said, out of all of those coulds, which one do you think might work best? And she said, this one. I said, why? She says, because. I said, and why not this one or this one? She says, because. I say, which one do you think you should do then? She says, this one. I said, why on earth are you asking me? That's what I mean by no advice given. I don't mean no advice received. I mean, do the work to be curious enough to understand somebody else's point of view. And as leaders, we jump to advice monster mode too often, and we forget our job is to teach people to think, not to tell them what to do. Our job is to teach people to think, not to tell them what to do. See, when you're curious for long enough, you understand their context, and it walks you towards this position of empathy. We get there slowly. Empathy's like a buzzword right now. People are throwing it around like it's confetti at a wedding. Yet still too few people understand what the word really means. The best definition I've ever heard for the word empathy comes from a speaker, author friend of mine by the name of John Acuff. And John Acuff defines empathy as to care about what the people you care about care about. I can't do better than that, so I'm borrowing John's definition. Who is the person you care about more than anybody else in the world? Who is the person you care about more than anybody else in the world? If you're any doubt in your mind, remember the high school photograph, 800 faces. What was the first face you looked for? That'll be right here. Sometimes I hear people say, my kids, my dog, I'm like, that's not a person. My husband, my spouse, my wife. And I say to those same people is I understand that you appreciate that they're the most important people in your world, but that is only because they belong to you. They're yours. Your kid, your wife, your husband, your spouse. See, if you are the most important person in your world, who is the most important person in their world? That'll be them. If we're looking to be more influential, the starting point is to remove the least influential word from your vocabulary. Would you like to know what the least influential word is on the planet? Simply removing this from your vocabulary will change your world. And the least influential word in the planet is the word I. Yet how many times do you start a meeting by saying what I was hoping to achieve today, what I wanted to share, what I would like you to do, what I think you should do? If you're any doubt of how often you use the least influential word on the planet, take a look at your last 100 sent emails. And you will realize how often that you talk in the term of you and how you are the hero of your own story on repeat and wonder why people don't get it. If you can simply swap more of your I's for you's, you become more influential. See, there's a button that lives inside the mind of every decision maker on the planet. And it's a button that I've learned to call the show me that you know me button. Once you trigger the show me that you know me button, no longer is it you versus them. It's you and them versus it. That's a very different thing. It's not me versus you, it's me and you versus something else that's bigger than us that we're going to go to work on together. I also need you to realize something remarkably important. Nobody wants what you're doing. There are approximately 0 people on the planet that are looking for the services and products that you provide. Did you know that? None. What they're looking for is the result of the result of the result of the result of that and how that relates to them. I put it simply is, maybe you've read a book before by a guy called Simon Sinek where he talks about that it starts with why. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's more simple than that. People don't move for their why, they move for their because. People want to do what you'd like them to do because. Is can you get laser focused on knowing the becauses that exist behind the changes that you're asking people to make and watch how it changes the conversation. I did a research study at a little university in North Carolina called High Point that I'm faculty at. And I found out why kids went to school. I thought it was interesting. Is why did kids decide to go to college? And the overwhelming response that came at the end of all of the questioning is the early questioning was like, I wanted to go so I could get a degree that I could get a good job, or I wanted to go to be able to meet people and socialize. But you drill multiple questions deep, and the sole reason that the majority of people wanted to go to college is because there was somebody in their life that invested in them at an earlier chapter in their life, and they wanted to make that somebody proud, dead or alive. I was like, wow. Wouldn't that change the customer experience of a student if you understand the moment of celebration was to say thank you to somebody else, not to say, look at me, I'm awesome? Big difference. To lead people truly, the greater outcome that we should be looking for is not why they should do the thing, it's what is the because that lives behind the result of them doing that thing and why that matters to them. Is this making sense, folks? So we ask curious questions until we understand context. We ask empathetic questions till we're relatable. It's us versus it. And only then do we get to that courage step. Finish this sentence for me. If you do not ask, do not get, you don't receive. We know that to be true. So when I talk about courage, I'm not talking about jump out of an airplane courage or climb a mountain courage or go to war courage. I'm talking about a different type of courage. I'm talking about the courage to ask. People live so much in fear of asking because it feels like a big piece and we might be fearful of rejection. So I figured I might just frame this by considering one of the biggest asks in life, certainly for many people. And there's something that's referred to as like the big ask. And the big ask is the will you marry me ask. Has anybody in this room ever delivered that level of big ask, the will you marry me ask? Any people have done that? Cool, a few of you. And how big of an ask was it? Anybody do it with hopes of 50-50 conversion rate? Or do we have a slightly higher level of confidence that this was the direction of travel that was beneficial for both parties? See, that's all big asks are, is leadership to invite somebody to take the next step. Leadership to invite somebody to take the next step. Leadership to invite somebody to take the next step. Very few of you were probably shooting at first date to say, how about marriage and kids? You took some time to be able to get to that, made multiple big asks as you went, and the size of the ask should be in line with the state of the relationship. The size of the ask should be in line with the state of the relationship. And I know not everybody in this room is in that marriage scenario. So I'll give another example that might be a touch more inclusive. Does anybody in this room love to dance? Some of you, not many of you. Now I'm somewhere near certain if the circumstances were different, the lights were a little lower, there was a little liquid encouragement, the music was like making your foot tap, and you didn't have to go first, we'd find out that some of you that refused to raise your hand at that moment in time, you love to dance. What does it need? It needs circumstances, and it needs somebody else to go first. As leaders, your responsibility sometimes is to create those circumstances and then go first and lead the dance that is the change that you're looking to be able to create in the world. How do you do so? Then you ask curious questions to understand their context. You ask empathetic questions till you're relatable. It's you and them versus it. And then you're brave enough to be able to invite them to go first to get them on the dance floor. Make sense? Yes or yes? You'll note in this model that this is an equilateral triangle. That is a mistake on purpose. What it could make you think is that when you step into a moment of influence, I spend a third of my time being curious to understand context, a third of my time being empathetic to be relatable, and a third of my time being courageous to drive action. It's not what it says. In much of the moments we're in right now, it might be a slow journey upwards with an acute angle triangle, with a sharp right angle down for a quick moment of empathy, and then a courageous journey back. But note probably the most important thing on here. Where does this model end? It doesn't. And as leaders, we drive conversations to checkpoints and then we try to restart them. We drive conversations to checkpoints and then we try and right-start them. See, once you've invited somebody to take action, be curious to create certainty about what's next. Be empathetic about what's relatable to be towards what's next. Be courageous to know what the next action is. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rest of life. Done. Got it? You learned earlier on that if you do not ask, you do not get. I said to you I might help you with some word choices. We learned that one of the biggest reasons that we don't ask for the things that we want in life is because we are fearful of rejection. Would it help if you had some precise sequences of words that would allow you to ask other people to consider different points of view and it be completely rejection-free? Would that be helpful, yes or no? You, sir, green sweater, what's your name? Will. See, if I wanted Will to consider an idea of mine, I wouldn't ask Will directly to consider the idea. I'd position the idea to the left or the right of him with some magic words. I position the idea to the left or to the right of him with the preface of words, I'm not sure if it's for you. See, if I preface and ask with the words, I'm not sure if it's for you, what does Will's little voice do? Well, it does a few things. The first thing it does is it says, I will be the judge of that. It takes full personal responsibility for the consideration that this is a decision that you need to make and that you are equipped to be able to make it. This is all on you, my friend. The second thing that happens in your little voice is you go, what is it? Curiosity is piqued. It makes you want to lean in to be able to find out more. I become pulley, not pushy with this idea as you're attracted towards it. And this is created from what's called a curiosity gap. If you're unfamiliar with what a curiosity gap is, it's the same reason you decide to watch a single episode of a Netflix show and then realize how wrong you were because you needed to finish the season. The writers had a strong ability to create curiosity gaps. Still unfamiliar with what a curiosity gap is? Have you ever found yourself on a social media platform watching a video that you are almost certain from the get-go is going to deliver zero value to your life? But you hit play anyway. And then you find yourself in on a moment where it says, watch to the end, and you say, okay, I'll do that. And then you find yourself 16 seconds in, and now you are fully invested in finding out how many elastic bands it takes to burst a watermelon. And then you're 2 minutes and 47 seconds in, and you're like, that's a lot. There's a lot of elastic bands. And then you find out it goes, pfft, and you're like, got it, back to work. Nothing added, but I'm okay now. Whew, relief, anxiety gone. Why? Because we need tension in a conversation. And we need tension in a conversation to hold attention. Isn't that one of our struggles right now for our teams and our clients, is to get attention? And creating a curiosity gap creates tension that then attracts attention to what it is we're saying. We can do that with tone as well. Like if we're going to say, I'm not sure if it's for you, we have to have tonality around our vocabulary that is genuinely not sure whether this is for you. But then what I'm doing with this example for Will is I'm putting a 3-letter word on the end. A 3-letter word that holds immense power. And I don't know whether it was Uncle Ben or Peter Parker that actually said it, but they said with great power comes great responsibility. Same is true with how we use the word but. So you've all been on a leadership course in the past where somebody told you the word but simply negates what you said prior, right? It's like a backspace. It's not strictly true. See, if somebody sits you down and says, look, I know that you're a really valuable member of the team. We love everything that you're doing here, and you're bringing all your experience from the way that you used to do things. And I know that things are different here, but what do you remember? You actually remember everything that follows the but. It doesn't backspace what was said prior. It shifts the focus to next. So if I want Will to consider an idea of mine, I say, I'm not sure if it's for you, but run through the but, and I put a big idea the other side of it. Hey, well, I'm not sure if it's for you, but there are some other ways that we could look at doing this that I think might help you achieve your outcome quicker. Hey, well, I'm not sure if it's for you, but there's another vendor that we work with that has found a way of integrating this solution to amplify their results at a far more statistically accurate rate. Hey, I'm not sure if it's for you, but there are some other ways that we could work on this that I think might be more beneficial towards your outcome. This makes us pulley, not pushy. Are we catching this? Easy to do? Because what we do instead of this, we say things like, have you considered? Which is advice disguised as a question. We say things like, well, what I think you should do is, and they're like, do you now, huh? They don't do that actually. That's just what happens up here. And we create friction. What our goal is to be pulley. Have you heard the old saying, you could lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink? You can. You just have to put salt in the oats and make a thirsty horse. Our skill in doing so as leaders is knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, how to make it count. It's making more of those moments. So what happens is people travel in the direction that we're looking for. Here's another sequence of words that brings us to life. I need to check some basic brain science here first. Who in this room would see themselves as open-minded? Take a look around. That is somewhere like everybody, and I'm pretty darn certain the other hands would not go up regardless of what I asked. Cash, cookies, cake, drink tokens at the bar. It's like, nope, I got my own money. I can do this. No one's going to make me. What we learn from that is the whole world likes to see themselves as open-minded. It doesn't mean they are. It means they like to see themselves as open-minded. How do we use that fact to our advantage? What we do is we attach it towards an influential principle, and if we can just ping me back one slide, folks, it will be useful, is if we attach that to a universal principle that the person who's asking the questions controls the conversation, we just collected another rejection-free opening formula. Could you say to somebody like, Will, could you say like, how open-minded would you be to? Hey, would you be open-minded to trying something different? How open-minded would you be to understand the way we've done things historically and why that's worked so well for us? I mean, how open-minded would you consider doing things differently? And how open-minded would you be to utilizing the words, how open-minded are you more often? Easy to do? Easy not to do? Simple sequences of words. And people have been telling us about artificial intelligence recently, right? Have you heard a lot of noise about AI? And then people say this profound statement. They're like, it's only as good as the way you prompt it. Like it's a new idea. And I mean, like people? Aren't we only as good as the way we're prompted when it comes to getting the results back that we're looking for? So you ready to learn the secret to influence? How you can get just about anybody to do just about anything? You up for that? Sure? Because it lies in our knowledge and understanding of this one word that's up on screen right now. Possibly one of the most overused words in the world of business is the word motivation. And it's overused because too few people understand what it really means. When we understand its etymology, we unlock its power. The word's actually created from the forcing together of two words. That's where it splits. The first word comes from the Latin word motivus. Modern day translation is the word motive. The Asian part of the word comes from the word that we know as action. These are the two words that are forced together to create the word motivation. What's another word for a motive? If somebody had a motive, it would mean they had a what? That'll do. And if somebody's going to take action, it means they're going to move or do something. So all that is meant by the word motivation is to find their reason to move. Did you know there are only 3 reasons anybody moves to do anything? Did you know that? No? Dang, you're making me work. 1 is to run towards something that makes them more comfortable. 2 is to run away from something that's making them uncomfortable. And 3 is to do something that lights them up inside, that triggers their attitude and helps make their heart sing. That's it. We move towards things that make us more comfortable. We run away from things that are making us uncomfortable, and we make choices that light us up inside. That's it. Do people move to become more comfortable, yes or no? Yes. Some of the people, some of the time. Do people move when they're uncomfortable, yes or no? They move too, right? Interestingly, more of the people, more of the time. Do people move to do things for selfish reasons that matter for them, and only them? Yes, they do. Only all of the people, all of the time. So we've got 3 reasons to move: towards, away, and self. That's it. And our job as leaders is to use those into a cocktail to get people to be able to make a change. I'm going to try and make this real visual for you for a second. I'm going to borrow this little prop of a super comfy chair. These are super comfy chairs, people, right? And I'm going to let you to use your imagination for a second and see this chair. This actually is a super comfy chair. And it's not a conference chair, it's a chair in your house back at home. And imagine a scenario for me real quick, and the scenario is this, is you've been at a conference for a couple of days, and you've been up a little later than you normally would do, you've consumed a little more food and beverage than you normally would do, you've had a little less sleep than you normally would be, you've been around people that have given and drained energy. And you're finally getting yourself home, and you're still wearing the clothes you traveled on, and you've got your little knapsack alongside you carrying into the house. And you step into the house, and you see this chair, and it's a very specific chair. This is your comfy chair. And the reason I know it's your comfy chair is because it has a perfect butt-shaped imprint that you've been committed to making for some time. And as you step into your home, in the scenario I just described, you look to the chair, and you are the most decisive you've been in a very long time. And you look to the chair and you say, I am going to sit on you. And no holding back, you give it everything you've got. Whew. And then you start thinking. You start thinking, man, if I go grab myself a shower, get myself changed, maybe get some sweats on, man, I'd be so much more comfortable. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, what if I was to lay out this way on the couch? Woo! That'd be a game changer. But you know what? This here, this right now, this is fine. Am I right? How many times do you have conversations with others in your teams, others in your departments, others in your areas of influence, where you share updates and insights and ideas with them about how they can go on to change their life for the better, or how they can go on to be able to avoid a discomfort that's happening in their life? And during your presentation with them, during your conversation with them, they're like, yeah, I know. I agree. Not a doubt in our minds. We should definitely do that. That sounds amazing. I'd love that. And then at the end of it, they're like, but we're just going to wait and see. We kind of like things just as they are. Is this true, yes or yes? What is it that gets you off the couch? What is it that gets you off the couch? See, it could be a number of things, couldn't it? It could be that the kids need something. It could be somebody screaming at you something. It could be finally I got to eat. It could be dang I stink. It could be a number of things. It could be like got to pee, got to pee, got to pee. Could be all of those things. But something catalyzes the change and gets you up off the couch and moves you into action. That's your job for your people. It's to get them off the couch. It's to find the reason that they're going to move towards the outcome that you know is beneficial towards both parties. And the most exciting part of all of that is it's a fundamentally human skill. We often find ourselves being fearful around what could be happening with technology replacing the roles that we have inside of businesses. But getting people to see better versions of themselves, helping them understand that the pain is worth it, having them understand, navigate the complexities of working through periods of change requires high levels of emotional intelligence. But it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to get somebody to move if you don't know the thing they want to run towards, the thing they want to run away from, and the thing that could light them up inside. If you know those three things, you can be insanely more influential. Does that make sense in theory? Would it help if you could make it make sense in practice and have some tools that you could use straight away, yes or no? Thanks. This means yes. The shake, I can follow that one too. And I know that you folks can speak up. I walked past the lobby bar last night. Okay, if we are looking to be able to influence people with our words, we're going to understand another very piece of basic brain science first. Did you know that every decision every human being has ever made has been made at least twice? I repeat, every decision every human being has ever made has been made at least twice. We first make decisions hypothetically up here, in our mind's eye. Ever said the words to yourself that I cannot see myself doing that? It's a literal thing. If you cannot see yourself taking an action, the likelihood of you choosing to take that action, slim to none. Therefore, if I can get you to see yourself taking an action before I invite you to do it, chances of doing it are significantly higher. Here's the second piece of brain science to understand. When it comes to decision making, we have a key point of reference. And that point of reference is called our memory. Our memory is like the world's biggest Instagram account. There are a gazillion photographs up here, and anytime we're asked to make a decision, we shuffle the deck of images looking for photographs that could inform the decision we're currently being asked to make. The slightly awkward question for me to ask of each of you now is how many of your memories actually happened to you? Oof. It's kind of awkward, correct? Because it's not all of them. Your memories become memories for one of two reasons. It is either A, an experience that you lived through, or B, an experience that was shared with you. Typically in the form of a story, because a story will always sell, whereas a fact will only tell. And when that story is shared, you paint an image, you plant it up here, you've reviewed it so many times, you have to second guess whether it actually happened or not. So let's try and bring this full circle. The secret to influence is to find their reason to move. Got it? 3 reasons anybody will move to do anything: to run towards something that's making them uncomfortable, to run away from something that is making them uncomfortable, or to do something that lights them up inside. When it comes to making decisions, we first make decisions hypothetically in our mind's eye. We have to see ourselves doing something before we choose to do it. Once we would then choose to do it, we validate that decision with logic based on our memory. Our memory is a catalog of images that got there for one of the 2 reasons that I mentioned. Let's bring all of this together. One more piece of basic brain science. There is a period of time that we learn quicker than any other point in time in our life, and it is when we are children. Primary method of receiving information as children is experiences that we live through, or information that is shared with us, typically in the form of a story. How did a child know a story was coming? What were the magic words? Once upon a time. When a child hears the words once upon a time, they open up the Instagram account, say, gimme, 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 this is going to be good. You cannot use the words once upon a time with a teammate, a colleague, a co-worker, a collaborator, a client, or a prospect. Can't get the same result. You can, though, use the grown-up version of the exact same sequence of words. And the grown-up version of the exact same sequence of words are the words just imagine. Now we take everything we've learned, you pull it together, and you say, well, what kind of photographs do you plant into the minds of the people you're looking to influence? images they want to run towards, images they want to run away from, and images that could make their heart sing. I mean, just imagine 6 months on from now, once we've gone through this system integration, and how much easier your day-to-day will be. Hey, just imagine what happens is if you don't make these changes and your competition or our competition blazes a trail past you because of the fact you're being left behind. Hey, just imagine the difference we can make in the world if we collaborate on a project like this together and be able to create a lasting impact inside Holman, but also for you, your family, and for the people that you care about. When is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say? It's in the moment where you're saying it. See, here I am making up examples for you on the spot, but do you find yourself stepping into known moments in conversation that you could give a tiny degree of thoughtful thought ahead of time for? And you could say, I know what that person might want to run towards. I know what that person might want to run away from. I know what might light them up inside. And craft yourself a few just imagine statements. But if you said to somebody, just imagine, just imagine, just imagine, that would sound weird, right? Also, do people make decisions based on emotion or logic? What do we think? Trick question, true answer is both. One comes first though. Has to feel right in here before it makes sense in here. Has to feel right in here before it makes sense up here. So if I can passport people through time in their mind's eye with the words just imagine, what difference would it make if I could passport people through time in their heart's eye, getting them to feel things they haven't yet felt in order to be able to anchor a feeling in the moment that changes the decision in the moment? Would that be useful? We're talking about creating a future conditional feeling. And an example of a future conditional feeling are the words, how would you feel if? See, how would you feel if 6 months on from now that we've integrated new systems, created changes that buy you back 10 to 15 hours every given week? How would you feel if that was true? I mean, how would you feel if we make no changes and what happens is either your competition or our competition blazes a trail right past you? And how would you feel if us collaborating on this and bringing your experience, combining it with our experience, allowed us to be able to create a change inside this organization that was actually something that was a legacy moment for you, your business, or your career? How would you feel if that was true? How much advice am I giving? Speaking in the form of questions, allowing people to see and feel alternate realities to anchor decision-making in the moment. These are big ideas that are easy to overlook. But if you're catching just one thing, we should be catching the power of questions. Regardless of what happens in technology, I believe this 5-step dance will never change. Questions create conversations. Conversations lead to relationships. From relationships, we can create opportunities, and behind opportunities, we can create change. Questions, conversations, relationships, opportunities change. Questions, conversations, relationships, opportunities change. Questions, conversations, opportunities, relationships change. Making sense? So if we understand the power of questions, is I'm going to come down here and have a chat with you. If the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it, I'm not going to ask anybody a question they haven't been asked before. Got it? So we should be ready. Who do I pick on first? I'm going to ask you questions you've been asked before. Your name, sir, is? Vikas? Vikas, hey, how are you? Good. See, I asked Vikas the hey, how are you question he's been asked before. His inside voice says, I know this one! And Vikas gave me a perfect level 1 answer to the hey, how are you question. He said, good. He's so efficient with language. He shut their thing down like before we even got started. That's how precise Vikas is. Let me see if I can get somebody to level 2. Young lady, your name is? Laura, hey, how are you?
Doing great today. How are you?
Laura gets us to level 2. She says, doing great today. And then she echoes the question back to me. And because Laura's doing great, how am I doing? Great. Isn't it an interesting coincidence that everything plays like a perfect game of pairs when we're in this how are you interactions in our workplace? It's like, how are you? Great. How about you? Yeah, great. How about you? Yeah, I'm great too. What about you? Yeah, great. Everybody's great. Well, great, I'm fine. Fine, everything's fine. Is this what happens? Hey, Laura, help me understand this. How great are you right now?
The temperature's great in the room. I'm with people I like.
Okay, so we're justifying this right now. I got it. Okay, let's make this really easy. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being today's a pretty decent day, and 10 being it's the greatest day of your life, how great are you?
Let's go with 8.
So she's like an 8. So we set out on a conversation as new friends, looking to build a relationship based on trust, and she lied to me. Many of us are so efficient with language that we fail to be effective. And how many of you lead teams in person, where you're face-to-face in office environments? And how many of us can also equally own up to the fact that we are that person in our environments? Like, hey, how you doing? How your weekend? Yeah, weekend was good. What about you? Yeah, weekend was good. Get up to much? No, you, no. We have so many surface-level conversations that we are transactional in our interactions and wonder why we don't breathe culture. Do you know how many levels there are to the hey, how are you question? We did it. We did level 1 and level 2, that's all there is. Now you've seen that, you'll see this show up everywhere. Is nobody gets past level 2 because we're too much thinking about the thing that we were doing, the direction that we were traveling in. I'm going to try something different. I need to pick a new volunteer. Who do I pick on for this one? Is your name, sir, is? Todd. Todd, tell me about the last place you went on your vacation.
Last place I went on vacation, went with the family to Orlando.
Family tour to Orlando. Man, I'm in Orlando all the time. I've been going to Orlando for years. I was there with the kids for Disney recently, but Orlando's become like a place I don't love to be able to travel to because there are so many conferences in Orlando. I've been going there every year, and it's always like swampy in the summer, and I'm not sure if I told you I'm a professional speaker. I've been all over the world. I've worked in 50 of the states here in the US. I've worked in 59 different countries, and I don't get why people want to come from the UK to Orlando in the summer. It makes no sense to me why British people would like to come to Orlando in the summer when it's weird. But anyhow, I'm not sure if I told you, I've written 11 best-selling books. I've traveled all around the world, and I didn't know if you knew how awesome I was. How often does this happen? We ask somebody a question, they give us an answer, and we show up and throw up our version of their answer. That was fun for you, wasn't it? That was really great. You had a wonderful time. Like, people do this with me all the time. They say, Phil, you've got an accent. I'm like, I know. And they proceed to tell me their London story. Like I care. And I could care, but more often than not, it's like I've always wanted to go, and I've had a friend that went once, and I don't know where they went or what they saw, but maybe you know them. Maybe it was familiar. Like, I'm not sure what it was called. It was something Shire or Ham. Do you know where I'm talking about? And they stayed in a hotel. It looked lovely. Maybe you know. I'm like, what are we doing, people? Can we try something again? Sure. Your name one more time? Todd, tell me about the last place you went on your vacation.
Last time I went on vacation, the family and I went to Orlando.
Okay.
We had a great time at the parks. We did some fishing, spent a lot of time at the pool. It was great.
Nice. And where in Orlando specifically do you go?
We stayed at a resort called Sheraton Vistana Villages.
Excellent, excellent. And was there a particular reason that you chose that resort?
We'd actually been there once before, and we knew it was good because the kids can explore it on their own.
Oh, gotcha. And how many kids you got?
2.
Excellent. And what are their ages?
11 and about to be 8.
Wow. You're a little ahead of me in the race from my littles. Is what were some of the things that you experienced there with the kiddos that they loved, that if I'm to find myself there, that they might like to enjoy?
Brought my youngest one bass fishing, which is not a very common Orlando activity, and had a fantastic time.
Awesome. And is bass fishing something that you've done before, or was it new to both of you?
No, it's something we do pretty regularly, just not on vacation.
Okay. So where do you go bass fishing when you're not on vacation?
Around home, different lakes and rivers around nearby.
Got it. So this is a perfectly casual, normal conversation surrounded by nearly 800 people in the middle of a conference room, right? And here's Todd and I in a conversation that's very different. Did I learn more second time round? Was there more fun in that second conversation, me and Todd? If this was Todd and I waiting for a plane, catching a drink at a bar, meeting for the very first time, we'd have probably got even more information. Did Todd volunteer information I didn't ask for? Some. How many questions did I prepare? Only one. Where did the rest of my questions come from? Todd's answers, which meant I had to do what? Possibly the most underrated skill in our profession right now is our ability to listen. And I think it's important to take a look at the word together, because this is interesting. Let's just take a look at the word together. The word has an L, an I, an S, a T, an E, and an N in it. Here's another word. It has an L, an I, an S, a T, an E, and an N in it. Coincidence? Yes. Makes a heck of a point though, right? Makes a heck of a point. I wonder how many times we've talked ourselves out of change. I wonder how many times that we've avoided a moment of clarity for our teams because what we've done is we've over-communicated. I wonder on how many occasions that we haven't left a pause for long enough for somebody to receive the information that we're sharing. I wonder how many times we've steamrolled somebody into a moment of understanding and clarity because we know it well and we think that they should move at our pace. If you slow the process down, we can speed the outcome up. And as fast as the world is moving, is sometimes our job as leaders is to slow it down and create a space that's big enough for people to understand the change. Let's make this even more simple. Has anybody ever seen the movie Shrek? In the movie Shrek, Shrek says, ogres are like, because they have, people be the same. Yet we live in a world that's so fast-paced, it moves so quickly that we forget and we don't peel back the layers. And then we wonder why those layers aren't there as connection points with the people that we care about on repeat, because we've been so efficient, we fail to be effective at the change that we're looking for. If you're one of the people that slows something down for long enough and asks 6, 7, 8, 9 more questions, more than the average person, you might be the only person in their life that's done that in the last 12 months. Therefore, you might be the most influential person in that person's life. Why? Because that person feels seen by you. And I know that asking questions can feel challenging sometimes. Sometimes it can feel like an interrogation. There is a lesson that you can pick up from comedy. It's a theory called the rake effect. And the rake effect is well documented and particularly anchors back to a scene in The Simpsons. Has anybody seen an episode of The Simpsons? If you've seen The Simpsons, you might be familiar with the character Sideshow Bob. Sideshow Bob is in a famous scene in The Simpsons where what happens is he steps out of a car having just been let out of prison. And as he steps out of the car, he steps on a garden rake. And the garden rake plants him clean in the face. It's kind of funny. And he turns around disgruntled and he steps on another garden rake and it plants him clean on the face. This still too is funny. And then what he does is he steps on one more and the rake plants him in the face. This is still funny. This is genius comedy. The camera zooms out and it's full of rakes everywhere. You're like, this is weird. Sideshow Bob sets on a fourth rake. You're like, what are they doing? Are they just padding for time here? They have not enough written material in the episode to finish it? And then steps on a fifth rake. It plants him in the face. And you're starting to get frustrated and disgruntled. I don't like this. I mean, surely there was something better they could have done with the scene. This is my life. This is my time they're wasting here right now. And then he steps on a sixth rake. And again, it plants him in the face. And now you're like just confused. You're about to change the channel. Turns again, walks in the other direction. Seventh rake, plants in face. And you're now like, ugh. Eighth rake, same, you're about to give up on this whole thing. Simpsons, we're done. Matt Groening, you can't write. I mean, right? Turns and stands on the ninth rake. Boom, plants in face. You're like, actually, this is pretty funny. Goes full circle. And then every rake that can come after that continues to be able to get a chuckle and a laugh. That's what's been proven to be true in the science when they document that scene. The same is true when we're asking questions of our people as leaders. You'll get your first 3 questions for nothing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes it's clunky. They're like, why are you asking me this? Why does this matter? What are we doing here? I mean, surely you've got something better to do. I know I got something better to do. I mean, like, this is making no sense. And only once you get through those layers do they go, I got it. He gives a damn. He's trying to not just give advice. He's trying to understand my situation properly before we jump into some form of fast, rapid conclusion that almost certainly isn't the right one. This is different. I like it. I like you. Easy to do? Even easier not to do? The challenge is to work through those layers. Questions, conversations, relationships. Then come opportunities. Then comes the change. Too many leaders want to drive with the change and then say, well, I guess now's the time, and well, I just realized I didn't have the relationship, and I didn't actually ask the questions first, and we should have talked about it. The job is ready, aim, fire, not fire. Where was I aiming? Dang, I wasn't even ready. Making sense? Slow the process down and you'll speed the outcome up. Questions create conversations that lead to relationships, that creates opportunities. That's what drives sales. And then we get to this part of our job, is to give people enough information to make a decision. Enough information to make a decision. The challenge is, though, is how much information is enough? The answer is it depends, right? It's different with different people at different times in different ways. Perhaps put best by a huge mentor in my life. My late grandma, my nan. My nan once said to me, she said, Phil, if everybody thought in the exact same way, then wouldn't the whole world like to marry your granddad? We all like information different. We all have different needs. That's what makes us beautifully human and unique. But I'm pretty darn sure that many of you in this room have delayed a decision from giving too much information. I'll share a quick story. It's go back a decade or more in my life. I was helping a large telecommunications company back in the UK to help their small business customers transition from analog phone lines to VoIP technology. Those of you that have been around in business long enough understand how big of a change this was, right? So this telco company wants to be able to get the adoption rate of their small business customers to VoIP technology quicker, insanely more profitable, insanely more practical, way better data, no-brainer. Customers should adopt this technology. We're going to charge you less and give you more. Should be a quick transition. Only it didn't happen. They took it to small business customers. Small business customers got scared. They wouldn't go through the transition. This company says, we know how we're going to fix this. We're going to send our engineers out to give confidence to the customer base that this change is worth it. They sent the engineers out to the customers. Small business customers would say to the engineers at the point of them explaining this new technology, they'd say to the engineers, so how does this work? And the engineers were like, I've waited my whole life for somebody to ask me that question, and they'd tell them. And they'd create chaos in this poor customer base. Here's where this puzzle gets presented to me. They're like, Phil, we got this issue. We've created this new technology. It's better for our customers. It's better for us. It's cheaper for them. It's more profitable for us. Should be a no-brainer for this transition. We've launched it, and we've got mild adoption rate. We've put our best engineers on it to convince our customers, but still we've got friction and resistance. Our rollout expenses are going through the roof, and yet still we're not getting the penetration rates we're looking for. Can you train our engineers to better overcome the objections that when the customer says, how does it work? You give them a better response, and can you help us create some marketing tools that can help convince them that this is going to be safe? I said, I can. They said, how long is it going to take? I said, I can do it now. They said, how much are you going to charge? And I gave them a number. It was a big number. They got scared. They said, that's a lot of money. I said, you're wasting a lot more than that right now in not solving this. They said, you're right. You're right. They said, you can fix it now? I said, yeah, I could fix it now. Within 24 hours, you'd see a change. They said, well, like, how much time, resource do you need? I said, no, now, like right now. And they said, you do it that quick and you're going to charge that much? I said, yeah. I said, if it doesn't work, how about you don't pay me? They said, sure. They said, so what are you going to need? You're going to create training tools and then set a webinar up for the team and build this? I said, no, I'm going to give you a script for this, a script you can use now. They said, you need some time to write it. I said, no, I told you I can do it now. I said, so should we just write it down? I said, yes. Shook hands. I said, so let me get this right. Is the customer asks, so how does this work? And you need a response for that that's well written, that is concise, that helps them to not be like overwhelmed with fear and allow them to be able to move forward with confidence. Is that the kind of script you're looking for? They said, yes. I said, so here's what we do. Ready? Write this down. It's quick. Is they say, how does this work? And then here's what you get the engineers to say. They say, how does this work? And then you train your engineers at scale to say, great. And they're like, and what else? I'm like, that was it. That was the whole script. They say, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure. They say, you sure? You sure? I said, sure. So the engineers go out and customers say to the engineers, so how does this new technology work? And the engineers look them clean in the eyes confidently and say, you're great. Do you know what 9 out of 10 customers would do? I'm good with that. That'll do for me. Friction removed, transaction completed, they were closing deals, bang, 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 with great. 1 in 10? Yeah, but like how does it really work? And the engineer now gets to have fun and talk it through with the person that cared. But we can remove the friction by giving less information, by helping people feel confident in the change, not explaining how something works, not explaining all the details, enough information. And for those, a one-word answer changed their business. Could the same be true for us sometimes? Is that they're looking to borrow our confidence, not understand the answer to the question. Yet sometimes, though, we have to package information. Does anybody have a pen out there in the audience? Does anybody have a pen? Did anybody come prepared with a pen? Look at this pro. Your name is? Roger. Roger, would you be kind enough to bring your pen up front here for me and just come right here? Because we're gonna do an exercise with Roger's pen, and we're gonna learn a lot about Roger in this process. Roger, I'm gonna borrow your pen, and if this is Roger's pen and it is just like chucked down on a table at a yard sale, car boot sale equivalent, is how much is Roger's pen? People don't think much of your pen, Roger. They don't think much of your pen. Nobody even really wants to pay for it. But this time we're going to take Roger's pen and I'm going to put it upright in a stand. And the stand is made of acrylic, has the manufacturer's name across the top of the stand, and the pens are beautifully merchandised around it. And in the adjacent compartments are other pens from the same manufacturer. And this stand sits on the counter of a mid-price department store like a Macy's in the stationery department. How much is Roger's pen now? It's gone up a bit, right? It's gone up a bit. It is the same pen. Only this time we're now going to take Roger's pen. I'm going to place it down on its side. I'm going to put it in a box. The box is made of mahogany, and the mahogany box is velvet lined. So what we have is we have a pen in a mahogany box that's velvet lined. This too sits in a cabinet, Roger. Cabinet is made of glass. Glass cabinet is spot lit. So I have a pen in a mahogany box that's velvet lined, sits in a cabinet. Cabinet's made of glass. Glass cabinet is spot lit. This too sits in a department store. Not just any department store. This department store is in London. It's not anywhere in London. It's in Knightsbridge. And the store in question is called Harrods. So this is Roger's pen. It's in a mahogany box. It's velvet lined. Sits in a cabinet. Cabinet's made of glass. Glass cabinet is spot lit. Sits in a department store. Not just any department store. Department store's in London. It's not anywhere in London. It's in Knightsbridge. The store in question is called Harrods. And to get to the pen, I need to speak to a member of staff. Member of staff is wearing a black tuxedo, has white gloves on, and his name is Pierre. How much is the pen? It's the same pen, people. It is the exact same pen. So what is the difference in all these scenarios? What is the difference? What is the difference? The thing is never worth the money. It's the things that go with your thing that make it worth the money. The better job you can do of articulating the things that go with your thing, the more value people will see in your thing. Got it? So Roger, this one's yours, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Keep it safe, don't lose it. That is highly valuable, right? Highly valuable. Thank you for the prop. But can we see the point? Like Roger's so disorientated, he's like, where do I go now? I'm going to go try and sell this pen somewhere. How we talk about what we do, how you take the time to articulate the things that go with your thing, help change the way that people see value in what it is you're communicated. The type of the world that we're currently in is that we're professionals. Amateurs could get by with kindness, hard work, and hustle. Pros need skills. Pros work on skills. Pros master moments. Pros do the work before the work. That means that when they show up in those high impact moments is that they've got what it takes to be able to deliver and serve that given moment at that moment in time for all that that moment counts for. So I know that you've been in this moment with me for just over an hour or so, and I did want to take the time to be able to make sure that we finish strong. Some really simple things to think about is remember that if you change your words, you can change your world. Is every word that leaves your mouth is helping or hurting, nothing is neutral. I repeat, every word that leaves your mouth is helping or hurting, nothing is neutral. And if it is neutral, it's a waste. Start to think about the differentiator that we have between us and people like us is knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. It is finding the right words at the right time. And it's a belief. And it means that you then adopt a practice to get better. It isn't saying there's a perfect way of doing something. There's a commitment to excellence that says, I care enough. We ran a study recently, and there's a remarkable statistic. 51% of working Americans have been deeply offended by the lack of preparation a leader put into a meeting or a discussion. More than half of working Americans do not want you to wing it. They want you to show up and care about their time, effort, energy, and attention so that what you can do is make more of those moments count. That's our job, that's our duty, and the good news is we're in complete control of it. And I know that what most of you are looking for us to be able to land the plane on right now is maybe just something simple from a takeaway point of view. And I'll give you one more throwaway line that is worth gazillions of dollars for you. Have you ever wanted to tell somebody what to do without them feeling like they're being told what to do? Because you know they want to know what to do, but they don't want to be pushed. Has this ever shown up in your world? You've wanted to tell somebody what to do without them feeling like they're being told what to do because you know they want to know what to do, but they don't want to feel pushed or pressured. Let's borrow a piece of basic psychology that human beings are a lot like sheep, which means we're very happy to follow a crowd, which is why safety in numbers is so important for us. It's why we love Google reviews and why 37 strangers on a Yelp review are more influential to us than any advice from our mother-in-law. Like, safety in numbers is for real. See, take that psychological belief and understand that we find ourselves in moment after moment after moment where you're looking to tell somebody what to do without them feeling like they're being told what to do. And next time you want to tell somebody what to do without them feeling like they're being told what to do, simply share with them, here's what most people would do in your circumstances. And what happens is when you share with people, here is what most people would do in your circumstances, little voice kicks up in the head and it says, aha, I am most people. So I'm going to do that, and there is nothing you can do to stop me. And I know what at least 29 of you are thinking here right now. At least 29 of you are thinking there is no way that would ever work for me because I am not most people. So here's what I'd say to all 29 of you. I'd say, please don't be like most people. You're welcome. See, words create numbers, numbers create decisions, decisions create outcomes. And once you learn that your vocabulary can help add to an argument, subtract from an argument, multiply your outcomes, divide from the opportunity you're looking for, you start to become more intentional with every word that leaves your mouth. Because these are our tools to be able to engage. And most people at this point in our time together, particularly after I promised to give you too much information to be able to comprehend, are wondering where to focus. So where would I focus if I was in your shoes right now? I'd focus on simply these 4 things. I'd focus on that the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. You know many of the known moments you're stepping into. Be ready, ready, ready for them. Don't prepare your scripts, prepare for the moment. Asking somebody to marry you wasn't hard. Finding the moment to ask somebody to marry you was what was hard. Find the moment, master the moment. Never forget that curiosity is the fuel to great conversation. If something isn't going well, don't turn up the certainty, back up, become more strategically curious, understand that you're lacking context. Curiosity will garner you context. Remember that people do things for their reasons and not yours, which means we should never give advice to anybody unless we can say these words first. And the words we should be able to look to say first are the words because of the fact that you said. Because of the fact that you said blank, blank, and blank, for those reasons we'd recommend blank, blank, and blank. And how do you collect that evidence? Well, you ask curious questions, because questions are the things that control or lead conversation. If you take nothing from our time together today other than those 4 things, you will be more influential, more persuasive in all of the moments that matter. And it isn't about asking more questions, it's about asking better questions. So we ask curious questions until we understand context. We ask empathetic questions so that we're truly relatable. We ask courageous questions to drive the action that is beneficial for all parties. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. So ladies and gents, I've been Phil Jones. I wish you all the success in the world that you're prepared to work for. And never forget that if you change your words, you can change your world. Thank you, thank you, thank you.